Welcome to day 79, Deuteronomy 29 through 31. Some really great things today. So let's get at it. First of all, God gives eyes to see, ears to hear, and I want to talk a little bit about that because that's an extremely important point. This is kind of one of those things that you might want to write down as a separate note. So in chapter 29, verse 4, it says, "But to this day the Lord has not given you minds that understand, nor eyes that see, nor ears that hear." Okay, stop right there. Let's go to Revelation, chapter 2. And we are in verses 7, 11, 17, 29, chapter 3, 6, 13, and 22. So there are 7 of these. Amazing, 7 of those. That's another 7 thing, but we'll get to that next December. I'm just going to read one of these. "Anyone with ears to hear must listen to the Spirit and understand what he is saying to the churches." Anyone with ears to hear. Back here it says, "But to this day the Lord has not given you minds that understand, nor eyes that see, nor ears that hear." In the first 3 chapters of Revelation, actually chapters 2 and 3, the letters to the churches, it's talking about anyone with ears to hear. So somewhere along the lines, someone's been given ears to hear. And then chapters 4 through, or I should say really 6 through 19, it says this. Chapter 9, "Anyone with ears to hear should listen and understand." What's the difference? Chapter 2, verse 7. "Anyone with ears to hear must listen to the Spirit and understand what he is saying to the churches." It doesn't say what he's saying to the churches in chapter 13. You'll have to wait till December for me to explain that. And he hasn't given them minds that understand, which means we will be given minds that understand at some point. What an awesome thought. And you get into Matthew, it'll be mentioned at some point in time, where he's going to open up our minds. We're going to understand. We're going to be able to see. Okay? So when is that going to be? Maybe it's in heaven. What does that look like? That's later on. We'll talk about that. So let's move on. And then we see something absolutely wonderful. God provides for the Israelites clothing. It doesn't ever wear out, and they don't need food. He gives them food. They didn't have to make their own food. So we are in chapter 29, verse 5 and 6. "For 40 years I led you through the wilderness." This is Moses. "Yet your clothes and sandals did not wear out. You ate no bread and drank no wine or other alcoholic drink. But he," God, "provided for you so you would know that he is the Lord your God." What an awesome thing. 40 years, their clothes never wore out. Think how often you buy clothes. Think how often you eat. You have to go to the grocery. Well, God provided the food for them. The next thing is a covenant is being made. We talked about the Ark of the Covenant, the 10 Commandments, and all this is about. These are the things to keep you safe. 29, verse 12, 14, and 15. "You are standing here today to enter into the covenant of the Lord your God. The Lord is making this covenant, including the curses." Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to come back to this. And 14, 15. "But you are not the only ones with whom I'm making this covenant with its curses. I am making this covenant both with you who stand here today in the presence of the Lord our God, and also with the future generations who are not standing here today." So the parents and the children at that time, they're taking the covenant, and that's affecting the future generations. What an awesome thought. Okay, prophecy of banishment. Extremely powerful points that are being made here. This group of things I'm going to be talking about. Chapter 29, verse 28. In great anger and fury, the Lord uprooted his people from their land and banished them to another land where they still live today. All right, so if you read through that, what is happening? Why am I talking about that? God he is not bound by time, meaning he's in the past, in the present, and the future. And he is saying, you're going to be banished. I mean, we've talked about this. You're going to be banished. So you're entering in this covenant. You're just now getting ready to cross the Jordan into your land. I'm just telling you, you're going to be banished because you're foolish people. You're rebellious people. And what's going to happen? Let's see. 2021. The Lord will never pardon such people. Instead, his anger and jealousy will burn against them. All the curses written in this book will come down on them, and the Lord will erase their names from under heaven. Okay, so the Lord will separate them from all the tribes of Israel to pour out on them all the curses of the covenant recorded in this book. Okay, so we're getting to something specific here. He's telling them they're going to be banished. All right? It's going to happen. Chapter 30, verse 1. In the future, when you experience all these blessings and curses I have listed for you, and when you are living among the nations to which the Lord your God has exiled you. So he's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you what I promised Abraham and Isaac. So you're about to get that blessing. But then you're going to be exiled because you're a rebellious people. And when you finally realize you screwed up, I'm going to bring you back. Because this is what it says. I'm going to get to that in a second. Chapter 31, verse 16 to 18, continuing with the banishment part. The Lord said to Moses, you are about to die and join your ancestors. After you are gone, these people will begin to worship foreign gods, the gods of the land where they are going. They will abandon me and break my covenant that I have made with them. Then my anger will blaze forth against them. I will abandon them, hiding my face from them, and they will be devoured. Terrible trouble will come down on them, and on that day they will say, these disasters have come down on us because God is no longer among us. At that time I will hide my face from them on account of all the evil they commit by worshiping other gods. Okay, then we get the promise of bringing them back. And this is huge. Chapter 30, verses 2 through 5. If at that time you and your children return to the Lord your God, and if you obey with all your heart and all your soul, all the commands I've given you today, then the Lord your God will restore your fortunes. He will have mercy on you and gather you back from all the nations where he has scattered you, even though you are banished to the ends of the earth. The Lord your God will gather you from there and bring you back again. The Lord your God will return you to the land that belonged to your ancestors, and you will possess that land again. Then he will make you even more prosperous and numerous than your ancestors. The Lord God will change your heart and the hearts of your descendants so that you will love him with all your heart and soul, and so you may live. Extremely key point here. He has alluded to this all along, and the severity of the punishments gets worse and worse. And now he's just saying this is going to happen. All right. So turn to Ezekiel, the whole chapter of 37. I'm just going to read 2 verses here, 12 and 21. But read the whole chapter. Therefore prophesy to them and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. O my people, I will open your graves of exile and cause you to rise again. Then I will bring you back to the land of Israel. Verse 21, and give them this message from the sovereign Lord. I will gather the people of Israel from among the nations. I will bring them home to their own land from the places where they have been scattered. Look at this. This is a ton. And you should really include all of this. This is about, hey, you know what? Abraham, I'm going to bless you and your descendants. But they're rebellious. So I'm going to teach them a lesson. They are going to be exiled. And bad things are going to happen to them. And then finally, I'll bring them back into the land. And they will never be gone again. And it's not just this much. It keeps going. And it really is leading up to what Christ is doing about saving all of us. God brings us through the fire. He doesn't save us from it. And that is so very important. Daniel, God did not throw him into the lion's den. God brought him through it. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, God did not keep them from being thrown into the furnace. He brought them through it. We talked about that already. Okay, so again, we're kind of getting to the major points of this. You have the choice of life or death. Okay, so chapter 30, verses 11. This command I'm giving you today is not too difficult for you, and it is not beyond your reach. 14 through 16. No, the message is very close at hand. It is on your lips and in your heart so that you can obey it. It's in us to obey. It's to choose. It's in here already. Now listen, today I'm giving you a choice between life and death, between prosperity and disaster, for I command you this day to love the Lord your God and to keep his commands, decrees, and regulations by walking in his ways. If you do this, you will live and multiply, and the Lord your God will bless you and the land you are about to enter and occupy. Okay, so what do we have? We have 4 stages here. So let me paint a very simple picture. I'm a parent. I have a little child. He's about to put his hand on the oven, on the stovetop. First, stop. You have a choice to make. Don't put your hand on the oven. You'll be fine. You put your hand on the stovetop. It's good. Second, there's a possible punishment. You'll get burned if you do that. Third, now make your choice. You choose to put your hand on the oven. 4, the consequence happens. And that's what's happening here. Okay? He is saying you have a choice. Now make the choice. And there's a consequence if you make the wrong choice. You make the choice, oh, here's the consequence. You're going to be exiled. But the 5th part, I'm going to bring you back. Okay? Because you're going to turn from those things. Now, the last point I want to make is another 7 for our list. This is chapter 31, verses 10 through 11. Then Moses gave them this command: at the end of every 7th year, the year of release, during the festival of shelters, you must read this book of instruction to all the people of Israel when they assemble before the Lord your God at the place he chooses. So every 7 years they're to be reminded of this. What a great thing. And think how often what we do. Every 7th day we go to church. Every 7th day we're given instructions. What an awesome thing 7 is. And we are starting to get little bits and pieces of things to come that are absolutely wonderful to talk about. That is your day 79. You have a great day.